It's the weekend. I know you just saw another video from me very recently, but I wanted to get this one out there as soon as possible. Because in this video, I'm talking about everything I'm doing with my money and my life during this wild pandemic. Before I jump into the 4 things that I'm doing, I need to let you know that I am not a financial expert. I am just sharing what I'm doing with my money and my life at this time, so feel free to try out the things that you feel like might be helpful for you. So like I said, there are 4 things. Let's get right to it. The first thing that I'm doing with my money during this crazy time is going to the store and buying all the toilet paper I possibly can. Just kidding. Totally not doing that. Don't do that. The first thing that I'm doing with my finances during this time is reviewing and reducing my spending. Right now, I'm working on cutting out all unnecessary costs, and the world is making this quite easy on us because there's not a lot of things to do right now. You can't exactly go get your nails done or your hair cut or go out for beers with friends or go to the movie theater. All of those things are not exactly possible right now. So right away, right off the bat, that's a way that you can cut some of your expenses. So while the world might be making it easier on us right now to not go out and spend some of that money that we usually would on things like entertainment, this might not necessarily help you long term if you are trying to free up some money to pay down debt, or if you're feeling like your job may not be very secure during these changing times. If this is you, I might recommend starting by looking at some subscriptions. These are typically monthly expenses that you incur. And so if you're able to cut them out of your budget, you're saving money every single month, not just one time. For example, maybe now's the time where you're learning to work out in your living room rather than paying a gym membership. Maybe you're learning right now how to cook some really good recipes so that once we get back to normal life, you are not eating out as much. Or maybe you're evaluating all the TV subscriptions that you have and identifying which ones you use most and which ones you really don't need at all. Eliminating these things now will help you in the long term because you are learning what is absolutely necessary for you to live on so that you can continue to save that money in the future. If your financial situation is a little bit uncertain right now, or you're not so sure about your employment status and what that will be moving forward, I recommend you focus on 3, maybe 4 things. Focus on covering food, shelter, which would mean like rent or mortgage, utilities, and maybe transportation. That's kind of the 4th thing. If you are still finding that you need to transport yourself to work or transport yourself somewhere to care for someone, that would be included in those 4 things as well. The rest can be cut. It may not be comfortable, but the rest can technically be cut. If you don't exactly know what is necessary versus unnecessary spending for you because you've never sat down and actually thought about this and wrote it down, you need a spending plan. I'm going to link my video about building a spending plan or a budget up at the top here. Go check that one out. I personally am doing a little bit of a no-buy week right now to see how that goes. I'm spending money on food and on transportation because I do still have to go to work. But other than that, I'm not spending any money. So for me, that's how I've chosen to cut out unnecessary expenses right now. So after I've reviewed and reduced my spending, the second thing that I'm doing is I am saving the difference. There's a couple different places that I would recommend saving that money. The first of which would be an emergency fund. If you do not yet have an emergency fund, now is the best time to start one. An emergency fund is a lot like an insurance policy in the event that you lose your job or are not able to cover your mandatory monthly expenses. If you are finding yourself in a situation where you currently are not able to cover your mandatory monthly expenses, now's the time to use your emergency fund if you've got one. Most experts recommend that you keep enough money in your emergency fund to cover 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. However, if you feel like your job could be highly impacted by something like a pandemic or by a turn in the economy, I recommend keeping more like 9 to 12 months worth of expenses in your emergency fund just to be safe. You need to decide what amount of money is right for you. Everyone's situation is a little bit different. Put your emergency fund somewhere safe and liquid, somewhere where you can easily access that money. I recommend an online high-yield savings account. For me, I have an account called Ally Bank. It's online. They're really great because they have awesome customer service. I can always chat with someone or call someone on the phone, but there are lots of different options out there. If you feel good about the amount of money that you have in your emergency fund, the next thing that I would recommend that you do with any money that you've saved from reducing your spending would be to pay down debt. If you have some high interest debt, let's say maybe on a credit card with, let's say, a 20% interest rate, you are basically giving away 20% of your money to be able to pay that interest. If you hear dog tags, it's because the dog keeps fidgeting on the couch and won't just sit still. You good? Okay. You are likely not going to make 20% in an investment account, for example, so I really recommend that you make the effort to pay down that debt. Worst case scenario, if you really get yourself between a rock and a hard place, you could always put that money back on the credit card if you need to, even though I really would not do that and never recommend doing that. But if you absolutely needed to, I suppose it might be an option. Paying down this debt now, if you're able to come up with the extra money, will save you lots of money in the months and years to come. If you've got an emergency fund that you feel good about, you've paid off your high interest debt, the next thing I would recommend doing with any money that you have been able to save by reducing your spending would be to focus on some investments. I am definitely not a financial expert, but here is some investment advice that I follow. I believe it was Warren Buffett who said, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful. People are fearful right now because the market, whatever that is not doing very well. In a time like this, it can be really tempting for people to want to time the market to figure out the exact right moment to start investing, but this really doesn't work over the long term. Just buy in consistently. In the long term, this is the best strategy because everything will even out over the course of time. Here are a couple places that I'm investing right now. Number one, in my Roth IRA. A Roth IRA is a tax-advantaged retirement investment account. This account is awesome because it can almost double as an extra emergency fund. With a Roth IRA, any money that you put into that account, you can always take out later if you need it. You're not able to take out any money that you earn in that account through interest, but you are able to take out any of the money that you initially put into the account or have put into the account over time. It's also just a really awesome tax-advantaged retirement account that I would recommend you look into. The second place I am investing money during this time is in my 401k. A 401k is a retirement investment account often offered through employers, and many times an employer will offer you a match for money that you contribute to this account. Please don't leave that free money on the table, and now is a time where that is not an exception. Don't leave that free money on the table. Continue contributing to that account if you have it available to you. The final place I am contributing investment money is in my health savings account. While I am not using my HSA exactly as an investment account at this exact moment, it's a really great account to be contributing to if you qualify. Do a quick internet search to find out if an HSA is available to you. An HSA allows you to contribute money tax-free and then use that money tax-free for qualified medical expenses. I'm really grateful to have an HSA right now because should something go wrong with my health, I know I have at least a little bit of money sitting aside to be able to pay for those expenses. I feel good about my emergency fund, and the only debt I have left is at a pretty low interest rate, so I am continuing to invest in those three places, in my Roth IRA, in my 401k, and in my HSA, despite what's happening with the market. The third thing that I'm doing with my finances at this time is planning ahead. Yesterday, I found out that I may no longer be going to Argentina this summer, which is a huge bummer, but I had the opportunity then last night to sit down and re-crunch the numbers for my 2020 travel plans. I've talked about budget travel in a previous video, but it is important if you are considering making any big purchases at all this year that you start planning for how you are going to pay for those now. Your big purchases might be anything from needing a new wash machine to wanting to buy a new car to saving for a house. All of these things would qualify as big purchases that you're not just going to be able to probably just pay for up front. Most of my big purchases are travel related, and so that's what I'm going to show you now. When I plan for a big purchase, I want to make sure that I sit down and think about each little thing that would go into that big purchase. So like I was saying, most of my purchases are travel related. And so I get out a sheet of paper and I write down how much is the flight going to cost this place? What are the accommodations going to cost? How much might I need to spend on food and excursions or extra things? How much do I need to pay for a dog sitter if my dog is staying behind? I itemize out each of these different things and then add them all up. So for my 2020 travel, I kind of folded this sheet into different boxes because I was anticipating taking 6 different trips over the course of 2020. So I have 6 different boxes. And you can see that in each of the boxes, I have itemized out the different things that I feel like I am going to need to spend money on. So I total each of the boxes and then I add up all of the boxes to see what all of my expenses are going to be over the course of this year if I purchase all of the things that I want to purchase, or in my case, travel to all the places that I want to travel to. Once I know how much everything is going to cost, then on the back side here, you can see that I start figuring out month by month, where is this money coming from? So you can see that in April, I'm trying to save $200 for Brittany's wedding, and I'm going to contribute $550 towards repaying my car loan. I break that down month by month all the way through the end of 2020 through December and try to think, where is that money going to come from? I recommend you plan ahead for any big purchases you anticipate having to buy in 2020 and come up with a backup plan if you aren't bringing in the amount of money that you had anticipated bringing in. So for me, for example, I had 6 trips outlined, but there are 2 trips that are most important to me on that sheet. I have 2 different friends who are getting married this year, and they're the priority, making it to their weddings. All of those other trips, if they happen, great, that would be amazing. And if something happens to my income where I'm not making as much as I was anticipating, those are the first ones to get cut. So in addition to reviewing and reducing my spending and saving that extra money, and planning ahead, the 4th thing that I am doing with my money and with my life at this time is just being smart. If you still have a job right now, you need to make yourself as indispensable as possible. You need to go above and beyond. You need to establish a good relationship with your supervisor. You need to help out your coworkers. Be the person that everyone looks to that they cannot live without. In a time when we don't exactly know what's coming next and what might happen with the economy, you need to prove that you are someone that your company cannot live without. Over the long term, that's going to help you the most is just staying in your job and continuing to earn the money that you're earning now. The second thing that I would say about being smart is stay healthy. Not being healthy costs a lot of money. Hospital visits are expensive. Buying extra medications are expensive. Missing out on work that you don't get paid for costs a lot of money. So wash your hands, stay inside, stay away from people, stay safe. So those are the things that I'm doing with my finances during this madness. So if you have some extra time this weekend or in the coming week, I highly recommend that you review your finances to figure out where you can reduce your spending and saving that money for an emergency fund or to pay down some debt or for investing. Make sure that you're planning ahead for any upcoming expenses and just be smart in general. If you have any questions about this video, let me know in the comments below. Give this video a thumbs up if you thought it was helpful or entertaining maybe. Subscribe to my channel if you're interested in seeing more videos from me. Stay safe, be kind, and wash your hands. I will see you in the next one.